everybody, Kitsune Haruri here, and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be doing a Scarecrow build. And no, not this little guy, but a 7-foot tall Scarecrow for the front yard. Stay tuned and see how it happens.
Alright, so to make the Scarecrow, first I'm going to have to do the frame. And the beginning of doing that frame is this pair of jeans. These are going to be the bottom half of my Scarecrow, so I need to make his hips fit within this size. Now I'm going to be using some PVC, just some piping that I had gotten from Home Depot. I'm using 1/2 inch. That's usually strong enough to give it a little wiggle but not break. And I'm also going to be reusing some of this and some other things from my Mournful Ghost Lady that I have used in previous years. Now some of the tools you're going to need a cutter to be able to do this. You're going to want some gloves just in case. You may even need a hacksaw. I will not be using that one. We have a different one I use, but in the clutter right now, I'm not going to go hunt it up. So give me just a moment. I'll get together some of the parts and show you some of what I'm going to be putting together. Okay, got them all here in the cauldron. Now, I already had this piece, which, in case you didn't know, this is what was the head and shoulders for the Mournful Lady. This is also going to continue to be the head and shoulders for my Scarecrow, because I'm going to be using the same styrofoam head there. But you will need a cross piece like this, of course, to fit 1/2 inch. Put these back together so I don't lose them. That was the neck, by the way. It goes up into the styrofoam head. You will also need some T-pieces and some elbows. You can do the rounded or the more 90-degree angle. That's up to you. It doesn't really matter. These are just going to be the hip joins, and it's also going to be the corners of the base. And I haven't decided yet, but if I decide to lengthen out his arms and make his shoulders bend forward, it's going to be those as well. So for right now, because I need this in the hip, I'm going to go ahead and pull out 2 of the 90-degree bends and 1 of these, and just set the rest aside. And this, of course, is going to be the center, and this shaft is going to end up going to his spine. This connects his hips. These are going to be the actual hips, and when I do this, I want it to be wider than the waistband, but not wider than the hip. That way, when I button up that waistband, it's going to sit on top of these and keep it from falling down. Then I won't really need much more to hold it on. I do have high winds here, so I may actually do a little bit of tie and wire. But if you don't have high winds and you don't have harsh weather, you may not need these. So I'm going to go ahead and lay these here. And I'm going to take a piece of this shoulder to do my measuring with, so I don't have to mess with this whole big pipe over here. And I can see here, just by putting my finger there, I don't have to be all that precise. It just has to kind of fit in there. It has to sit in about that far. About the same on both sides. So, actually I will make a mark because I'm going to do this twice. It doesn't have to be a permanent mark. I'm just marking it with a pencil so I can see what I'm doing. Then I'm going to take the big piece of pipe and I'm going to measure it up to what I've just marked here. I'll need 2 of these pieces. 1 there and 1 there. I'm going to take this tool and I'm going to cut it off. If you don't have one of these, a hacksaw works just fine. There's 1. Release it, hopefully. Make sure I'm lined up. There's 2. Alright, so now I've got the pieces for my hips. All I have to do is join them together. If you're going to tear this down at the end of season, you do not have to glue these. They fit pretty tight. And all you do is just slide them in. Make sure that these are going the same direction. Else he's going to stand pretty funny. Did I get the wrong thing? I may have gotten the wrong thing. That's going to bite me in the butt later. Anyway, you'll just hook them together like that. Now, I made a mistake. See the threading down inside of there? That's going to cause me a problem. I'm going to have to take these back and get the ones without the threading. But in the meantime, you get the gist of what I'm doing here. For the spine, I will figure that out later. Next, I need to figure out the legs. So let me get that started, and I'll be right back. Okay, so even though I made a huge boo-boo, I can still continue on with what I'm working on here. I'll go and collect those new pieces, but just so you know, all those joints do is they come down the leg and they're going to go all the way down to the base from right here. So basically you will have spine, leg, leg. And this should not be too wide to fit inside the pants. So from these points, I'm going to actually have to do the legs. I want them just a little bit longer than the actual pants legs are. And just like last time, I'm going to lay these in here, bring it up to the point where I want it to stop, mark it with a pencil, and in this case, I'm going to go ahead and cut this one. And I'll use it to measure the other leg, so they'll be the same length. Unless, of course, you want him to lean to one side. Zombie posture is perfectly okay during Halloween. Alright, there's one. I line them both up here down at the end. Mark it with the pencil. Set aside this leg. And cut the next one. I don't have a lot to spare here, but it may actually be long enough for his spine. So I'm going to step back here so you can see what I'm doing. As you can see, his legs are a lot longer than mine. Down here's my hip, and here's his. If I place this hip here, that puts his waist way above mine. My waist is down here, his is up here. So he's a tall fella. And I can take this from this point. I'm going to step way back where you can actually see me. I'm way back here. From this point up, you still can't see me. Hi guys. Anyway, the top of the post up here comes to about my eyebrow, which means this is going to be a very tall boy. I'm going to go ahead and attach that to this shoulder, just like that. I have neck, arm, and a long spine. I know I'm not getting this very well. That's better. Now you guys can probably actually see what I'm doing. So here he is. You can see that shoulder to shoulder. Here's the neck. Here's that T that I was using. And that spine is way down here, and like I said, his hip stops here. So he's going to be way taller than I am, which is perfect because that makes him creepier. I can go ahead and attach this part of his hips, just like that. Did I get the right thing? Hope so. Yeah. And it fits tight. You can hear it squeaking. This is starting to look a little bit like a skeleton, isn't it? That's the point. This is his skeleton. So there we have the start for the upper body of this Scarecrow. The head, which I am reusing, is just one of these styrofoam heads. Actually, there's a hole in the bottom, and it goes right on here. See, it's going to have this to work with. I'm going to be wrapping this with burlap, painting it. Just keep your eyes on the screen, and I'll be right back with more. Alright, now a trip to the hardware store. I am back with the correct parts. No threads, no threads. So, that being as it is, I can get back to what I was doing. So here's where we're at so far. I've got neck, shoulders, spine, and hips. Now, I need to do these hip joins. That's where these little fellas come in. So I go ahead and I just attach those. Make sure they're both pointing in the same direction. Everybody's good? We're ready to start making the pants. Or, making the foot. Alright, so I've got him resting upside down on the floor here. I'm going to attach the legs. And we're going to go ahead and see how they fit on the pants. And all it is just a matter of sticking that pipe down in there. Now this one has a little bit of a burr. I need to take care of that. All that really requires is a little piece of sandpaper. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just have to smooth it down a little bit so it's not in the way. Nothing too difficult. And into the pipe it goes. Now the other one. Same deal. Got a little bit of a burr on here. And into the pipe it goes. Now, you see that they can move around here. You may need to cement them to keep them in the position that you want, or if there's not a lot of weight and they hold securely enough, you won't have to do that. For right now, this gentleman is nice and tall and ready for his pants. Any old pair of jeans will do, or any other kind of pants if that's what you prefer. Just like everyone else, he puts his pants on one leg at a time. So once I bring this up, if I did it right, there should be enough of a taper at the waist to hold his pants up. Now if not, you can put a rope through the waistband. It'll still look good. You can stitch him to his shirt. He's could still have stood to been a little bit wider. He wants to sag a little. But there you have it. He's got pants on. Alright, so in my case, I'm probably going to put a little bit of a rope. I may take this back loop here and wire it to his spine. That's fine too. You can adjust his angle. You can have him lean a little bit if you want. Put him in the position you want. And then you can cement these joins here But if you're going to take it down to put it away later, don't cement your legs. Don't cement your upper stuff. You want to be able to take those apart. Alright, so now we know his pants are going to fit. And you really don't have to fill them out or anything. They're just going to hang there anyway. Let's go ahead and pop those off. And do the build and dry fit for his face. For right now, to make this part a little easier, I've taken him back down to just the hips. I'll put the rest back on when I am done with this part. In order to make the base that goes on the ground that he's going to stand from, I need to make sure that my width is the same as his hips. In order to do this, I'm going to go ahead and pull out the joins that are going to go up to his hips, which are going to be these T's. These T's right here are actually going to be what the legs stick down into. And across the front, we're going to be using these elbows. Now, just to be sure I have my front brace the correct width, I'm going to line these elbows from the hip up with the ones that are going to be on the foot. They're not being attached, they're just being lined up so I can see how long I need this centerpiece to be. And when I lay my piece of pipe down here, with everything in my way, I know that it can't go in further than this bend. So that's about the length I need. And I'm going to need two of these. This is going to be the front and the back of the foot. There's one. I will need two of these. So using that front piece, I'm going to measure for my back piece. If it's off a little bit, you know, just like a fraction of an inch, it's not going to matter because this has a lot of flex to it. You're not going to make it though if it's several inches off. So make sure you try to get it at least somewhat close, if not perfect. Alright, so now we have a front and a back. I'm going to go ahead and put these elbow joints on it. There's another burr. We know what to do with that. Sand her down. I want to go ahead and get these in tight now. These you can cement if you would like. Two more pieces. Flat. Alright, so there's the front and the back of the foot. Now, the width going from the front of the foot to the back that's going to support him forward back to keep him from tilting is going to be basically determined by how much pipe you had left. So I have just this length left over. Just a few feet really. This one I do kind of need to measure. I need to make sure I am cutting it pretty much directly in half, and then I'm going to be cutting those in half again. Alright, so I've got a yardstick. I'm going to see how long this piece is. There's 36. Doesn't do any good to put my measure on the thing, does it? So right here's 36. I've got 40 inches. So at 20 inches, I can split this pipe. I can look now, see how close I got it. Again, it may not be exactly perfect. You can see it's just a fraction off, but that's okay. Again, I'm going to split these in half. This is currently just past 20 inches, really. So a little past 10 will do. This is the one that measured up properly. And now I'm going to split both of these. Alright. With these pieces, I'm going to put together the spanners that are going to go between the front and the back of the foot. And these, the T's, are also going to connect the legs to the bottom. So right there is going to be the space we have front to back. How sturdy is he going to be? I don't know. He should stand, but I certainly am going to want to secure him. If you have more pipe left over, of course you can make this a bit bigger as far as front to back. Side to side though, you still have to match this, or you're going to have to make another structure that brings everything inward a bit so that his hips will line up. I'm going to take his legs now and fit them into these bottom pieces. And I'm going to take the front and the back of the foot and attach to either of these. You can see I have made a big square frame. Okay? And this is going to go on the ground to hold him upright. Just like that. Let me show you real quick what it looks like. Please excuse the mess. So here's what I've got so far. I've got a square frame for his foot, and those are his two legs coming up. At this point up here, I'm going to be putting the hip, and he'll expand up from there. So let's go ahead and get his pants on so I can show you the rest of that. So here's the hips. And here are the pants. Now, since I've got him put together this way, I'm going to start from the bottom of the pants leg and just slide him on in. As I said before, he puts his pants on one leg at a time like everyone else, just backward. So there he is, got his pants on his legs. And now his hips will join the party. Straighten him up a bit. Button him up. And the gentleman is decent, at least from the waist down now. The next part that we're going to work on is going to be his rib cage. So let me go ahead and put this on. I'll adjust the camera angle and we'll get out the chicken wire and get started on this. Alright? Be right back. Okay, in order to reduce some of the weight, I'm not going to be stuffing my Scarecrow, but instead I'm going to build his rib cage out of chicken wire. If I were to stuff him, he is going to be outside and he's going to become saturated and weigh a lot. And as you can see, he's made to wiggle. So if I put a lot of weight on him, it's going to bend him over and break him. Make sure you've got your gloves. You'll need just basic chicken wire, You can get it at any hardware store. 22 gauge wire and something to cut and bend it with. So once you got your gloves on, because this stuff will scratch you up badly, just open up your chicken wire. Usually comes in a roll like this. Until you have enough to fill him out pretty decently here. Now the rib cage moves forward of the spine, so I am going to slip some of it over the shoulder to hold it up, and I'm going to wire it from the back to the pole. That way everything will set forward like it's supposed to. That's just about enough. I'm going to get a little bit more here. The other thing about chicken wire is it's moldable. You're able to squish it and stretch it to be what you want it to be. Let's go ahead and cut this off. Alright, so I have this nice piece here. And I am going to slide some of it across these shoulders. So it just kind of dangles there. Very simple. That also gives me an idea of where the center back is going to be. And I'm going to squish it right on in there, to the position I want it to be in. Alright. Just take my gloves off for a moment because this other wire is fiddly. I'm going to take some of this 22 gauge. Get a piece that's long enough to go around the pole and to twist comfortably. And I will start right up here at the top. Yes, I do have some sticking up higher. I'm going to leave it like that because I'm going to do a little shaping on the shoulder area. Once I bring that around, all I'm going to do is twist it together just like the twisty tie you find on your bread. To get it a little bit tighter, I'm just going to take the needle nose and give it a little bit more of a twist. And I'm going to just curl those sharp ends in on themselves so that they don't bite me later on, theoretically. I'll probably do about 3 down the spine to get this fully secured. Okay, so that's secured on there. I'm now going to work on the front, which I'm turning his back toward you so that I can reach that. On the front, I just want to close this in kind of a rib cage shape. So I'm going to go back to my gloves because it's going to bite me if I don't. And you want to shape this like something that's going to encase a pair of lungs. So it's going to be rounded out, tuck in a little bit at the top, tuck in a little bit here, keep rounding it out, round in the top. That'll give that little bit of rolled padding to the shoulder area. Where you squeeze this to, it's going to remain unless you squish it again. These are going to roll in. And that's really all you need to do to it. You can secure the front a little bit to give it a little more strength. And you can actually do that with its own wire bits, just by pinching them around each other. And this shape alone is pretty much all you're going to need to give a little bit more fill to the shirt. With this now built, we can move on to doing the head. And that's coming up next. Okay, so I've decided for this head, I'm actually going to do a burlap face. This is originally the head from the Sad Lady Ghost, and I'm going to just basically cover her over with this big sheet of burlap, which you can get feed stores, grocery store, or not grocery, feed stores, craft stores, wherever. Now, I'm not going for anything major as far as contouring, but you can go so far as to put on some extra spray foam and shape that, give it a more scary look. I'm keeping this one relatively simple because I have some other ideas on how to decorate, but decoration is entirely up to you. This burlap, I'm going to start off from the very top up here and wrap it down until I get around the face shape. And I'm going to just tuck it. Just as though this was one quickly put together on a farm somewhere just to actually scare away crows. And it's not going to be perfect right now. It's going to be ugly. It's going to be lumpy. But that's okay. There's going to be a lot of excess over here. So I'm going to cut a little bit of a shape to it. Burlap's pretty easy. Just hit it with some scissors. If the cut's rough, that's even better. It's going to look like it was made of materials that just came out of the barn. Now, going to the back, I'm just going to pull it around until it gets kind of tight. And there's going to be some left hanging down here. Now you can glue this down if you like. I'm going to lace mine down with a bit of twine because I want that look. This can just be done with any old piece of rope, cord, twine, wire, anything you've got, anything you like, and, which I've dropped, a plastic needle. Or in my case, this is the tip off of a pull through that you use for sewing. I just kept it because at that length it was kind of useful. All I'm going to do is wad this up, pull it through. Nothing fancy. Rough and ready. Gonna throw another cliche in here. Now make sure when you're doing this that you're not doing this little problem here. I'm pulling it too tight and so it's sliding down off the head. Let me pull it back up. Make sure this piece can reach. It's got to come down and meet. You see, it's pretty easy to fix. All you have to do is just stop, let it rest, loosen up, pull it through. I'm just going to go and make a knot. That's going to be enough to hold this at this point. Okay. Down here, I'm going to make another knot. It's rough and it's ugly, but remember, this is a scarecrow, not a beauty queen. So here on the front, we're going to want this neck to be a little bit tighter. So I'm going to take a piece of old rough rope, this stuff, and I'm going to wrap that around and tie it off like he's wearing a bow tie. Doesn't have to be this kind of a rope. It's just the kind of decoration that I wanted on him. We've had this laying around for a while, so why not make use of it? Doing a double knot, make sure it stays. And rabbit ears just like shoelace. I may let it drop later on, but for now, that'll do. I'm going to let the edges go rough. Now, I need to get this all put down. So just like I did with the other. I'm going to lace that up. Fold it in. Fold it in. Start lacing. A little bit of knot. That's nice and rough and ready to go. Just going to trim off the strings here. Not too much concern that there's a tail left. We are ready to go on to the next step, painting. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and do this from up here on the actual top of the skeleton itself, because I want to be able to see how he's looking at me while I'm doing the painting. Because after all, this fella's approaching 7 foot tall. He's pretty big. He's not going to be looking out across the sky at you. I'm using some regular spray paint, regular house spray paint. I've got some metallic. The black was planned. That's going to give me my shadows and eyes and everything for him. I did want to do him in orange, but at this time of year, you're not going to find orange, green, black, white, or purple, or glow-in-the-dark anywhere, because everybody's buying it. So I'm going to be using some Rust-Oleum metallic finish in copper, just so I can get a kind of a coppery, orangey look. It's just going to be the highlights. I think it'll be fine. And actually, since it's going to be metallic, it may add a little more shine to it. So let's start out with this. Make sure if you are spraying on top of styrofoam that you do so at a distance, because the accelerant will melt the styrofoam. In some cases that's a boon. This time it would not be. So I'm going to start with the eyes. I'm going to give him some undershadow on his chin. And then do this. Just a little bit of color. Make him look gaunt. Give him some cheekbones. And I'm not going to wait for this to dry. I'm going to go ahead and get the copper on there while it's still wet. Now, he doesn't look like much now, but there's going to be a second coat to detail him up. That's all the highlight he's going to get. I'm going to use a little bit of cardboard to help direct some of the color. We're going to go back to the black again. Okay, now I'll give you a close-up of what he looks like. A little bit of menace in that look. If you look at him straight on, it looks like his eyes are going to be a little bit low. But that's because when you're looking at him, down here's my eye level. I'm 5'10", so you know he's a big boy. Give you an idea here. Here's me at his shoulder level. Okay? Alright, so I'm going to let this dry a little bit. We're going to go on to decorating next. Alright, a part of the decorating for your Scarecrow is going to be the shirt. Just choose any kind of long sleeve shirt that you want to use. Long sleeve, of course, so that you actually have arms for your Scarecrow. And in my case, I've got a pair of old gardening gloves to use for his hands. I'm also going to be adding a bit more burlap just to make it look like he is stuffed, even though the only thing that's going to have any kind of stuffing will be the gloves. Now for the gloves, I'm just stuffing them with an old groceries bag because it will not absorb water and it really doesn't weigh that much. And I'll be able to stuff it into the fingers to hold up position I want it in. Now depending on how much weather your Scarecrow is going to see, you can use hot glue or you can stitch it in. I'm going to be using a combination of both just to make sure that everything is secure. First thing I'm going to put in is the burlap right up in the sleeve. So that looks like this. Now I'm going to take the glove and set it right on the end among the rest. Just a stitch or two will be all that you need to make everything stay put. Alright, now just getting dressed. Make sure that this piece of burlap tucks right down into his collar. You see his rib cage is held out by the chicken wire. Alright, so now as you can see, he's just a basic Scarecrow. You can change him up and decorate him from here any way that you want him to look. You can even tuck his shirt in, which I might partially do with this guy. I'm going to do a little bit here and fluff him up to make him look how I want. I might shorten his neck a little because right now it's looking a little bit too tall. But once that is done, I'll show you the finished product. So stand by. Alright, he's done and here's the final result. I may do some updates later, but for the time being, here's Joe. As I've said before, I'm about 5'10", so Joe comes in at close to somewhere around 7 feet tall, give or take a few. He really doesn't weigh anything at all. I can take him apart, put him away, and he's ready to be creepy and hopefully not fall down in the wind. I think that base is strong enough to hold him up. So if you have any questions, just comment below or shoot me a ask, and I'll let you know, whatever I know about it. I'd also like to see some of your results. If you'd like, you can send them to me at foxandsteam1@yahoo.com. Or you can also visit me over on Patreon and also on the Facebook page for Steamed Fox Latte. Again, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.